You have said communicating our wants is not bad or to be neglected, but we should reflect and meet these needs by ourselves and not hook them into others. Yes. What are some tips you would suggest we practice when we catch ourselves hooking our needs onto others and external situations? Well, the first trick is that, this is interesting. The second aspect of this is to ask yourself, what do you really want? What do we really want? And what most of us want is we want connection. We want love. This is what we want. We want fulfillment. Until and unless you know who you are at the depth of your being, you're not going to be able to move through the world getting what you want. You're not going to know what to do. You're not going to know how to do it. And this is why we always emphasize that the most important thing is to know who you are. So for example, if a dog follows a bird onto the top of a building, well, the bird jumps off and flies. It's a bird. If the dog jumps off, it's going to plummet to the ground and die, assuming the building's high, or break its leg if the building's not too high. Nothing good is going to come from it. And what happens in our life is we don't know who we are, and so we don't know what to do, and so we take cues and answers from what we see around us, like the dog following the bird off the roof. We take our cues from those around us. They act in a certain way, they look at us in a certain way, they live their lives in a certain way. And we respond accordingly. Oh, I must be like this. People say, oh, you're so beautiful, you're so wonderful. Ah, I'm beautiful, I'm wonderful. Life is good. People say, oh, you're stupid. Or they treat us like we're stupid, like we're worthless. We feel, I'm worthless. I'm useless. I'm not enough. And that's going to keep happening as long as I need to take my cues from the outside world. If I don't know who I am, you know, it's like that story, right, of the lion who was raised by the sheep, right? And so who grew up thinking he was a sheep and baaed like sheep, and until he saw his face in the lake and realized, oh my God, I'm a lion. Well, until we have a mirror of who we are, until we're able to look at who we are, we take our cues from the outside world. What's important? What's beautiful? What's valuable? What does the society, the culture, the friend circle, the community I'm in value? Looks, money, intelligence. Different communities value different things. What's most important? And then I judge myself by that. And as long as I do that, I'm always going to come up short. Because values keep changing, cultures keep changing, what's beautiful keeps changing, what's successful keeps changing. What we want keeps changing. And this is where we have to go within. We have to have a practice that takes us in so we know who we are. Because if I know who I am, then I'm not dependent on how people look at me, how they speak to me, how they treat me. Certainly we all would prefer to be hugged than hit. We all would prefer to be smiled at than, sneered at. I'm not saying you become oblivious to the world. But I'm much more likely if someone sneers at me to think, my God, that poor person must be really having a bad day, than to think, oh my God, I'm a horrible person. You know, it's like if someone says to you, God, that purple haircut you just got is really ugly. But you know you have brown hair, not purple hair, and you haven't gotten it cut in years. And so you're not going to feel impacted by someone saying that purple haircut is horrendous. You're going to worry about their eyesight. Really. You're going to think something is amiss. If it's someone you know and you know they're not crazy, you're going to think they're seeing things. If you don't know them, you might think they've got some psychiatric issues, if not visual issues, one or the other. Because you know I don't have purple hair. In the same way, if you know who you are, that divinity, that wholeness, that fullness, doesn't mean we don't have issues, doesn't mean we don't have things to work on. Anger, egos, attachments, identities. We have stuff to work on. We know that. It's the wrapping of the self. But when you know at the core of who you are, that it's divinity, that it's whole, that it's full, then someone speaking to you in a certain way or treating you in a certain way that's reflective of, oh, you're not even half, you're nothing. You're going to pity them and worry about them the same way that you do the person who says you've got a bad purple haircut. You're not going to take it within. And so this is when we speak about unhooking ourselves from the world. It's not detachment. I still love you. I'm just aware that sometimes some things happen and you look at me and see not the fullness of who I am. And it may be because I'm not acting as the fullness of who I am. I play a role in that. And that takes us back to just the final point I want to mention about the communication, which is it's interlinked. Communication is energy. It's not just words. And so non-violence is not just the words that we speak. It's the energy that we come into it with. And if I come into a conversation with, you are the problem, and see how nicely I said it, because I have a certificate in nonviolent communication or conscious communication, and I've just, see how nicely I said, you are the problem. Well, that's not true. It's certainly not kind or beneficial, and it's also not true. Because no one is the problem. It's energy. And we all know this because we all in our lives, whether you're 15 or 75, we've all had lots of relationships in our life. Whether they're friends, whether they're colleagues, whether it's romance. And what you know is there's some people that the energy works. There's some people where the energy just doesn't work so well. There's sometimes the energy works, sometimes it doesn't work so well. Some situations the energy works in. Some situations it doesn't work so well in. So no one person is ever the problem. And so when I go into any type of communication, I have to be very aware that it's not just my words, it's my energy. And if I'm walking into communication looking for connection, that communication is going to probably go well. If I'm walking into communication to convince you of how you need to change for me, regardless of the tone of voice I use, regardless of the words I use or the phrases I use, chances are it's not going to go so well. And most importantly, I haven't been honest with myself. I haven't stepped up to the plate of my life, which is, why do I need that person to change? Every time someone triggers us, it's an opportunity for us. Wow, doing dishes makes me irate. I've got work to do. Fantastic. This is the stuff. I mean, this is the stuff that makes life interesting. Really. It's not movies, it's not TV shows, it's not parties, not that those are bad, but the real stuff that makes life interesting is, wow, having to do the dishes all by myself makes me so angry. That is so interesting, and now look at all the work I have to do. It's not easy. But again, sharing just from very personal experiences. For me in my life, that has been a source of such fulfillment. Is, wow, I'm really struggling with this. Not, how can I blame the other person? Or how can I change the other person? But how can I move through whatever it is that's triggering me so much? Doesn't mean everybody's easy. Doesn't mean we don't all have relatives or colleagues or employers or employees or neighbors who are really difficult, who you could get a consensus. 10 out of 10 people would agree that what they did was really obnoxious. But that's not the highest level to go. Okay, fine, so it's obnoxious, then what? What have you achieved? Everyone agrees with you that they were obnoxious. Great. What have you achieved? Nothing. In the greater, bigger picture of your own life and your own practice, the question becomes, how can I stay grounded, stay centered, still experience love within me in the face of that obnoxiousness? That's the challenge. And that's what's exciting. And as long as I move through the world trying to change the outer situations for my inner self, I may be able to. But I'm not going to get to my highest place. The highest place is, how can I shift inside?